Imagine the US steel market opening up to global trade. Domestic producers will face competition from lower cost international suppliers, driving down prices and reshaping the market. Who benefits, who loses, and how does trade affect overall economic welfare? In this video, we'll model the impact of international trade on a single product market like steel and explore the changes in prices, quantities, and surpluses.
All right, in this video, we are going to model international trade with a simple supply and demand framework. Now, the market we're going to focus on is the United States steel market. And so these are going to be firms that are going to be selling steel in the United States and firms are going to be buying steel. So you can think of like refrigerator companies or auto companies that need to use steel to make their products, of where this demand for steel is going to come from. Right, now, when we open up for international trade, Ford Motor Company has two different places to buy their steel from. They could buy their steel from U.S. domestic steel producers, all right, so U.S. or steel that's produced in the United States, or Ford could buy their steel from companies that are outside the United States. So this is going to be imported steel into the United States. All right, so these are going to be substitutes, essentially, to Ford, to the buyers of steel. You can either buy the U.S. steel or the imported steel, and there'll be substitutes. Great. So for each of these, because they're substitutes, we'd have a demand for domestic steel. This would be Ford's demand for steel produced in the United States, and we would have a demand for foreign steel. And so these would be Ford's demand for steel produced outside of the United States. All right, now we have producers. We would have a domestic supply of steel. These are firms that are producing steel that's located in the United States, and we call them domestic supply. We would also have a foreign supply of steel. So these would be like Chinese steel, Brazilian steel, whatever, steel produced in different countries that would be supplied to the United States buyers. All right, so I need to make sure these things line up a little bit. So I'm going to put a little line in here that I'm going to use later. Okay. Now, so I'm going to have foreign steel there. So foreign supply of steel to the United States. Great. So what I have shown you here is an equilibrium. Okay. We have opened up for trade. We have U.S. suppliers, foreign suppliers, and then we have like the U.S. demand for domestic steel and U.S. demand for steel produced in other countries. In equilibrium, those prices are going to be the same. So let's say that it is $700 a ton for Ford to buy a U.S. produced ton of steel and $700 for Ford to buy a foreign produced ton of steel. And our equilibrium quantities would be that they would get 85 million tons of domestic steel and 28 million tons of foreign steel. Okay, so I'm just kind of making up these numbers a little bit. So actually I checked the internet, and you can find like what's the world price of steel or at the moment, and it's roughly about $700 in late 2024. And the U.S. in 2024 actually produced 85 million tons of steel itself and imported 28 million tons. So these numbers are roughly what you should expect in late 2024 for the U.S. market. So great. Point is, this is how we might model international trade that's going on. These prices are going to adjust, and so what would happen then if foreign steel was up here, the price of foreign steel would be really high for that, and foreigners were like, oh, well, foreign companies want to like increase their supply to try to get to that high price, driving down that price down to be equal with that domestic supply.